Today's episode is brought to you by Anthropic and their new AI model, Claude Pro. Get 50% off Claude Pro when you use our link, claude.ai/make-it. That's claude.ai/make-it, all one word, for 50% off your first 3 months. Now, on to the show. Right, yeah. That's the idea. Just say what you got to say, and it'll be perfect.
So John Mayer song, Nick, you sing that? John Mayer,
say what you want to say.
Say what you need to say. How's it go?
No, I'm not singing that.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Make It Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Barkley.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Buggs. And I just have to say again, Chris, the hello, it gets me every time, man. I love it. You know, There's just something so musical about it. It just perks up my spirits.
So is that all it perks up?
My spirits.
Okay. Just checking.
No, you don't have to check, brother.
Look, if you were having a bad day, like anybody out there listening or watching, if you're having a bad day, you start this thing, that hello. What did I just say? That hello. It'll brighten it up.
No, Chris. No. The thing is, check it. Listen, if you're having a bad day, just say hello to somebody. Just do that.
You know why? Because you can't do it without smiling.
Exactly.
There's some psychology. Papa Bear, you might need to hop in on this, but there's some psychology to the raising of your cheekbones and so the muscles that pull a smile. It's impossible to feel bad. It's like a dopamine release. Is that right, PB?
It does help with that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can make your day better by saying goodbye to somebody.
Well done.
Oh, I love it. That's perfect.
Well done, sir.
End the show here. What else do you need? That was perfect advice.
Thank you, David. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Papa Bear. We'll see you on the next one. No, we asked Papa Bear that because he spent his life in psychology and before hopping into radio and podcasting with us. So, always good to know. By the way, speaking of David Parks is with us, producer extraordinaire, and one of the above-the-line folks behind the film, The Short Game. David, welcome to the Make It Podcast.
Thank you, Chris, Nick, Papa Bear. Really honored to be here. Appreciate you giving me the time.
Anytime. This is going to be so much fun today. And because you have this feature and you've worked in a lot of different spaces, I think we're going to get into some interesting corners within the industry that are going to be great for the audience. We're going to have our normal segments as usual, guys. Story is King is up first. So, David, you ready to hop into some Story is King?
All good. All ready.
All right, let's do it. Let's start off with this one. What should we know you for?
What should you know me for? It depends what you like in entertainment. I used to say I'm a jack of all trades, a master of some. I decided at some point a few years ago I can maybe say a master of many. Right now, you know me from my latest project, which is the feature film, The Short Game. But depending on how many years back you went, you'd know me from a lot of work in the sports world, in the live entertainment world. I had my run in reality TV, in news. I worked in news for a while. So very eclectic career. And so people will often, and before I was a producer and director, I was a cameraman. In fact, that was going to be my career as a director of photography. And I would run into people and they'd know me as a producer and they'd say, there's this cameraman named David Parks too. Do you know him? And of course they'd be talking about me and I'd be like, yeah, I hear he's really good. Like I hear he's a guy that you definitely want to hire. And then people who knew me as a cameraman, they'd say, wait, you produce that? Like, how does that happen? So, but right now it seems to be back to the movie world.
Yep. Love it. And what are you working on now?
So right now we are in the distribution phase of The Short Game. It had a limited theatrical release. We're now working on our streaming platforms, all the variations of that. We're super happy with the movie and how it came out. It truly is an independent film. And as we are getting our way through this, I've actually already started my next project, which is a documentary. Something I've always loved, documentaries, but legitimately I've done one, and that was like 20 years ago for National Geographic. And I've partnered with a longtime friend of mine who is Ellen Gusenberg Kent, who's an Oscar Emmy-winning documentarian, and we have a project coming out that's soccer-oriented. It is about an event called the Homeless World Cup.
Yeah.
So
that title already pulls me in.
Yeah, I've seen some of the video on that. It's pretty amazing that the idea of it even exists, let alone that the actual thing exists, right? Like it's awesome, and it's near and dear to my heart, of course, as you know, Chris, because of soccer.
Yeah.
But it's also near and dear to my heart because if you go overseas, like in America, as you know, Chris, because you've got kids growing up in soccer, here soccer is super expensive to get into. It's super expensive to play. Overseas, you got a lot of people who actually aren't from the poorest neighborhoods who go on to be some of the best soccer players in the world. So giving people an opportunity to play regardless of what their situation, their financial situation is, it's a beautiful thing. And of course it matches with the fact that soccer is the beautiful game.
Yeah.
What can I say?
It's for everybody. I witnessed that myself in Guatemala and Honduras, where you didn't need any gear. You said 2 nets in a field and kids playing barefoot, and they were awesome. They were better than the club kids that I see here that are paying, tens of thousands of dollars a year to play soccer. So yeah, I can definitely get down with it and believe it to be true. And I'll just say this about documentary, David. Like, it's making a major comeback. Off camera, Papa Bear, Nick, and the team, we had a lengthier conversation about how documentary is going to make a comeback because we're in the age of AI. And there are going to be people who are going to hunger for the luxury of seeing something that they can connect to the world they live in physically. And we're already seeing concert prices are now luxury priced. Going to a Broadway play is going to get more expensive. Anything that's real is going to become more expensive. And I don't know, are you in the PGA Slack group, like the Slack they provide in the PGA?
I have not joined that, but I will look into it for sure.
It's awesome. And there are so many people in there doing documentary right now. Like, they definitely see the trend. They're definitely going in that place. And they know that they can go and get fiscal sponsorship and raise the money to do it in a different, I'm not going to say easier way, David, but they can do it in a way that you can plan for in a spreadsheet. Which is much different than raising funds for a feature film, where you're going to high net worth individuals usually, or you're going to financiers or banks. This, you can just go down the list of companies, organizations, nonprofits that you want to call, and it's very much producer friendly because you just throw them into your software or throw them into a spreadsheet and you're good to go. So,
yeah, well, it's definitely becoming sort of a pseudo golden age for documentary films, and even more so series. Ours is a series, and financially it's much easier now. It's still difficult to sell things, don't get me wrong. It's still every network has a very specific parameters they're looking for, but compared to the first doc I did, like I was saying, like a little over 20 years ago, where I figured out that I made pennies on the hour, and I said, okay, this is great, but I can't make a living doing this. Now you legitimately can. And so, it's nice. It's nice to, I like being able to bounce back and forth between, different genres and different types of entertainment. And documentary also, at least for the one that we're doing, has a true social angle to it. And, the Homeless World Cup is solving homelessness using soccer and sport, which is amazing. It's genius what they're doing. Yeah. And so there's that benefit to it also, which is important to me.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, you really can't have even a consumer product today without it having a connection to something it's doing greater in the world. Like you no longer can sort of have a pure profit organization that's a new company. It feels like you have to do something. You got to be a B Corp.
You're saying Tom's changed the game for everybody?
Yeah, you gotta give a pair of shoes away. You gotta, and I think that's good. I think that's a net good for, the Tom story is an interesting one in the way it ended, but I think it's a net good, for society. Where were you born, David?
I was born in Washington, D.C., Washington Hospital Center. So I'm actually one of those people who can legitimately say I am from the city. I grew up mostly in Maryland in the suburbs, but went to high school in the city and was, like I said, was born there and love going back there. Still feel a very strong attachment to the area.
When did you move out to L.A.?
I moved out to L.A. In 1985 for school. But it was interesting. It actually happened because I did not get a job that I had applied for in DC. They told me I was overqualified for it, even though I really had no qualifications at all, which was a little weird. I was like, hey, I'm like in school still. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to take the summer. I'm going to move to LA and have some fun. And I never left. I applied to film school at USC, and that was it. Never left until about 10 years ago. But I was there for like 30 years. So
I'm not surprised that you applied at USC and then never left. For those that haven't been on that campus, the campus itself is straight out of central casting, right? Like you get on that campus and you don't want to leave. Like it's awesome. Awesome. One of the best college campuses I've ever walked. And then they have this historic library. And if you're a sports fan and you get to sort of see Trojan Field, it's a lot. It's a lot. And you have to have incredible grades. So kudos, David, for having incredible grades, because I know what kind of grades you have to get in there. But if you did that, it would be hard to leave. I completely understand that.
And it sounds like the job that he applied for, the person who was reviewing his resume was like, oh no, one day this guy's going to take my job. So
well, you know what happened?
Get him out of here. Overqualified.
They hired somebody else, and then they called me 3 months later and said, that person didn't work out. Are you still interested? And I said, sorry, I'm in Southern California, and I am not leaving. It was
nice. See, that's what happened.
The sun was shining.
Yeah. He was adequately qualified, but the person was a little bit fearful of their job. And yeah, well, you did the right thing, and the universe works in mysterious ways.
Two rules of hiring, Nick. One, never hire somebody you can't fire.
Okay.
And then two, never hire your replacement. Never hire the guy or gal who's going to come in and obviously be smarter and better than you at your job, and you can know that. And it's funny how you know that, but you know that right away. Like you can sense that. So, hey man, kudos to that hiring manager, because now we get to be here with David. And this make me wonder about the question of when you knew you were going to live a life in film and TV.
Yeah. So I was not one of those kids that grew up making movies with their dad's Super 8 camera and thinking this is what I want to do. In fact, I had zero I went undergrad to Syracuse University, and then I went to grad school at Southern Cal.
Okay.
And when I went to Syracuse, I was a pre-law major, political science. I was going to be a lawyer. I moved back to D.C., get a job at a law firm, and be happy living in D.C. And at Syracuse, which of course has the Newhouse School, top school for communication in the country, I took a class as an elective, just like a TV radio introductory class. And this sort of light bulb went off, and I went, wait, I can get paid to work in television? that's kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, my interest in sports started to come to this idea of, and I never wanted to be on camera. I always wanted to be the person telling the person on camera what to do. So all of a sudden, I remember I called my parents, and I didn't quite know how they would take it. And so they said, so, how's school? And I'm like, great. I got a 97 on my exam, and I went out on a date and met this really, really neat girl, and we won our soccer game, and I'm changing majors, and I had a meeting with my professor, and they're like, wait, go back one. And I go, what? We won our soccer game? They go, no, the other thing, but they were very supportive of it, and yeah, so that was the big change. But even then, I thought my career was going to be in sports. My first job out of college was with NBC Sports, but it was that move to LA that then jumped me over into television and scripted stuff. But honestly, my career has really jumped around, and eventually I made my way back to sports and television, like live sports events and producing and directing those things. I don't want to. I could go on from story to story to story, but I worked for the NHL for 4 years, and I was producing the Winter Classic and these big events. I was with a team of people. I don't want to take credit for producing the actual show, but I was like the supervising creative producer, and I would, everything that wasn't the hockey game, I had a big hand in. And so it was covered by NBC, and I'm up the night before. This was the Winter Classic in Chicago, so it was it was in Boston, so it was number 3. Mm-hmm. And I'm up in the press box, and we just finished rehearsals, and I look down and I see Bob Costas walking across the infield. So my first job at NBC Sports was my job was sitting crouched down behind the announcers in the booth with Bob and Chris Collinsworth. And I would get Bob his orange juice. He always had an orange juice, right? So that was my job. And, to my friends at school, they thought I had made it. To them, I might as well have been running NBC. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. I get Bob Costas' orange juice. And they're like, Bob Costas? But that was 20 something years earlier, right? So I run down to the field, and I go up to Bob, and he was with Jim Craig, the goalie from the 1980 hockey team, which was really cool too. And I said, Bob went to Syracuse, right? And so I said, Bob, I just wanted to kind of reintroduce myself, and you do not have to pretend like you remember me or know me, and I tell him how we know each other and that I went to Syracuse and all. And he said, so what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm, creative producer for the Winter Classic. And he said, well, of course you are. That's what Syracuse grads do. We start getting orange juice for each other, and then we're running the show. And I said, yeah, but if you knew how I got there, it was not just this path that went like this through NBC. It was this up and down and starting over and moving to LA and all. It was very funny, but super genuine guy. And it was really great to kind of remake that connection.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bob Costas is kind of renowned for his ability to sort of pull a memory out from the past and talk about it at length and be incredibly detailed. There's a few people like that, but Bob's certainly in that group, especially with baseball. And I think him and Keith Olbermann are like Rain Man when it comes to baseball facts and just little notes and things like that. So that doesn't surprise me. Were you ever working, this is my own curiosity, it's just sort of outside the segment here a little bit. Did you ever consider going to work for CNN Sports?
I did. In fact, so I'm dating myself multiple times in this, but it is what it is.
That's right.
So when I was getting ready to get out of Syracuse, the typical way that you started your career if you wanted to work in television was you would go to the 198th market and try and get a job, and you'd start there and at a TV station, hopefully a network affiliate, and you'd put in a couple of years, and then you would jump to the 100th market, and then you put in a couple more years, and you just kind of work your way up. That was the main way of doing things. There were 2 networks that were brand new, and they were hiring anybody. And they paid, like slave wages. They were one was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
One was in Bristol, Connecticut. Like, where the heck is Bristol, Connecticut? That's what was the answer, right? And so obviously it's ESPN, right? So at the time, and CNN in Atlanta. And at the time, ESPN was struggling so badly that even though they were a 24-hour sports network, at night from like midnight to 4 a.m. or whatever, they were showing farm reports. Like, they had to sell off parts of their airtime. And I remember my friends and I going, this is pretty cool, 24-hour sports network, but it doesn't seem like it's going to last. And do we want to go and move there and work there and then not have a job in a couple years? So I don't have a lot of regrets in my life. I try not to live my life with any regrets, right? I just try and make the best decision and then just say no regrets. It's one of my mantras. But I will admit that I occasionally think about that, because I probably have been retired by now from having been the head of the entire network, right? If I had started way back then and worked my way up straight through there. But and CNN was straight news then, and it was the same deal. Like, do I want to move to Atlanta? The fact that I actually caught on with NBC out of New York was pretty big and legit at the time anyway. So it's not like I suddenly had to go to, some, small town in Montana. Nothing against Montana, beautiful state.
Whoa, guy, I'm from Montana. This is crazy. No, go ahead.
But, it's like I didn't have to like city hop for the first 10 years of my career. And so, like I said, I made the best decision I could at the time, and it allowed me to get to, a circuitous and interesting path to get to where I'm at. So
I appreciate you indulging my curiosity there. You mentioned your parents. If you had to give 3 words that describe your house, what would they be growing up?
Competitive, having mostly to do with my brothers. And I have two brothers. One's 2 years younger than me. One's 5 years younger. But we were all sort of, very into sports and competitiveness, in a nice way, in a friendly way. We're still, all 3 of us, we're very different people, but we're very close still. I would say, pranks, like, if you can't handle a good prank, you don't want to be in our family. It was actually a litmus for whoever I was going to end up marrying, and for my brother's wives. It's like, if you can't take a joke, and I mean a good joke, not a mean joke, but a well thought out. I mean, we played some epic pranks on each other and on our parents, and so that's always been part of it. And that's it. And I would say just family, probably. I mean, we certainly, like everybody, have our differences, and there were challenging times, but really we stuck together. And my parents have always said, at the end of the day, you have your family to rely on. And in our case, that's been true. My father celebrates his 95th birthday this November. We're making plans. My daughter just designed the invitation for the party that we're throwing for him.
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. 95. I love that, man.
Yeah. And just and he's still active and all. And he's a veteran. He's a he's a retired Navy officer. And you'll always see him with his, Navy cap on, and which he appreciates the appreciation he gets. And my mom's 88. And if you met her, I swear you would think she's 65 or 70. I mean, she is unbelievable athlete. She plays 18 holes of golf 3 days a week, walks several miles the other days, works out. If you hug her, she's like a rock. I mean, she is in unbelievable shape. And so just blessed that they're still around, and they've, that my kids are getting to know their grandparents, and not just as 3-year-olds, but now as, adults, and so it's been great.
True blessing. And thank you for that. So the three are competitive, pranks, and family. I have to think about pranks. That's very much like my family. If you can't take a joke in my family, you won't fit in. And I'll do this. You give me your best parent prank, I'll give you mine. All right, you first. What's your best parent prank? Okay,
so you're asking for the prank on my parents.
Yeah, because you mentioned you pranked your parents pretty good.
Yeah. So this is still referred to. So my brother, the one, Michael, who's 2 years younger than me, he had this very serious girlfriend for quite a while. And my mom was desperate for one of us to get married and start having kids so that she'd have grandkids. When we were in college, she's like, go around the block. Don't rush into it. But, when you hit 30 and you don't have like no prospect or there's nobody serious, you're not serious about getting married. Then she started to worry because she really wanted grandkids. So my brother's been serious with his girl and he was going on a trip with her to Seattle. I happened to be back home, visiting my parents. They now live in Annapolis. So I was back home visiting them. And I thought, you know what? This is a great opportunity for a prank. So I tell my mom, I said, listen, this is how I said I would go. Has Mike told you anything lately? And she goes, well, about what? And I said, his trip? And she goes, no, why? And I go, no, never mind. No, don't worry about it. And she's like, well, you can't do that. What is, and I go, I can't tell you. It's a surprise and I can't blow it for him. And she's like, David, come on. You've got to, the only person in the world who calls me David, right? Yeah. And so you gotta tell me. And I'm like, okay. I go, but you got to swear that when Mike tells you that that you act surprised. She goes, yeah. I said, Mike's going to ask his girlfriend to marry him. And she's like, oh, she got so excited. I go, but Mom, you don't tell anybody else. I mean, don't act surprised when Mike tells you. Of course, this wasn't true, by the way, in case it's not clear. Right. This was not true at all. And so I figured that she would talk to my brother even later that day or the next day, and she'd say, is there something you want to tell me? And then he'd be like, no, Dave pranked you, right?
Yeah.
That's not what happened. A couple days went by before he talked to her. In the meantime, what did she do? She went out and told all her friends.
Oh, Nick, that's great.
So then Mike calls and says, so she says, then finally she's like, so is there something you want to tell me? And he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, David spilled it. Thank you very much, Mom, for throwing me on the bus. You got engaged. So this is where my brothers are smart and great pranksters too, because instead of saying, no, it's not true, he's like, he told you, he wasn't supposed to tell you. So now he's perpetuating this prank. And this went on for I don't know, another 24, 48 hours or something. And then finally we told her. And of course, now she's upset because she has actually told all her friends. I told you not to tell your friends. Right? It wasn't just my prank. It was like this connection that my brother and I had to, combine to make this one of the more epic ones on my parents.
Yeah, this is great because it's hysterical because Nick, this is also the way you figure out sort of who the rat in your friend group is. Right, you tell them a piece of
his mom a rat.
No, I've heard of this. like you go to somebody, you give a piece of disinformation that isn't true, and then see if the information comes back to you, and then who the person is. That's sort of where the leak is, right?
Yeah.
And rat can be kind of harsh, but if you just try to figure out who's in the rumor mill in your friend groups, boom, you nailed it. There you go.
Right.
And because I think people do that when they're really happy for you or whatever, or they're just making conversation, but they don't realize they're actually sort of spreading a thing. Now,
so what's yours?
David, I knew you were going to ask. I'll make mine quick. I used to work at Blockbuster Video when I was 19 years old. RIP Blockbuster Video. And they used to studios would do these large rollouts. Different, there's still some large rollouts today. I think about Barbieheimer. But they would put they'd bring you giant setups, the kind that you see in the theater now. They'd put those in Blockbuster Videos too. Like giant cardboard build outs. Mm-hmm. and the movie Liar Liar had just released, and there was a giant cutout of Jim Carrey, life-size cutout of Jim Carrey, and the movie had gone past. It was time for that to end. They were going to throw it in the dumpster. I said, no, I'll take Jim Carrey. And and so I took the life-size cardboard cutout of Jim Carrey that stands up. And at the time, we were living in an apartment, and my mother could go into this shared bathroom through one door, and I could go in through the hallway through another door. So there are two doors that go into the same bathroom. So late at night, I hid life-size Jim Carrey behind a door, knowing that my mom gets up at night to use the restroom every night, right? So I just sat awake waiting. And at 1 a.m., the scream came. Like she beat the hell out of cardboard Jim Carrey. I was like, oh, my God. I'm so glad it wasn't a real person. Jeez Louise, look what you did to Jim.
Fight or flight, and she chose fight. And so
that's right.
She's a fight person.
I can't see, Chris. That turns into that edge of mean, because my thing was I used to like you say you call it scaring people. I would startle people, right? I would startle my mom and whatever, and it was funny, whatever. And then one day she was like, you can give somebody a heart attack like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang it. That pretty much ended all my pranking. It was like, I can't do that. I can't jump around the corner anymore, because if I give my mom a heart attack and she dies, like,
then you're quite
that's not funny.
That's not funny at all.
You're right. Yeah. So I was like, exactly.
I'll tell you, Chris, this kind of combines a bunch of the things. This one's a fast story. My brother, I ran a marathon.
Oh, good.
And my brother said, hey, what was your time? And I told him what the time was. He goes, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to beat your time. And so he did.
Competitive.
Which then forced me to run another marathon, which I did. And I beat his time. And then he ran another marathon. and I thought, okay, I'm going to do one more, right? And I did not beat his time. But I told him I beat his time to force him to run another marathon, which he did. He did not beat the time I told him I had run. And so for the next, however many, many years, it was Dave had beaten Andrew in a marathon. But I came clean at his wedding, giving the best man speech.
Hey. Oh, that's dope. I like that.
Yeah, and it's not easy to pull a prank over on my either one of my brothers, because they're adept at it too. But I thought that was a great one, that I forced my brother to run 26 miles he did not have to run.
That is one of the best things I think I've ever heard. That is actually great. It is. And to your point, Nick, I was warned. There are certain jokes I just cannot pull on my mom, or she will die. And so I pulled off those. Let's end this segment the way we always end it, David. What is a piece of advice you live by?
Well, I mentioned before, my sort of mantra, and I guess it came to me at some point as advice, which is don't live with regrets. No decision is a decision. So you do have to make a constant effort to figure out what's the best thing to do. But, and I think that's served me well. And I think that works in conjunction with just, every once in a while you have to take a leap of faith is the other thing. And that actually came to me from a professor of mine who I stayed in touch with for years later. He, if I was deciding on a kind of a big career decision, I would call him and he'd say, well, do you want people to think of you as this, or are you ready for people to think of you like this, or for your career to move to this next spot? And so I have to say that every time I have taken that big leap of faith with a career, mostly with a career move, but even in other areas, it has paid off. There might have been a temporary setback, less money, less work, whatever, but ultimately it propelled me forward. And so I sort of try and pass that on when I speak to students and to those that call and say, hey, I need some advice. So I think that way you look back and say, I'm happy with my decisions, you've probably lived a pretty fulfilling life.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
and
Chris,
and Nick, this whole show's a leap of faith.
Yeah, and I can't help but think about We're the Millers anytime somebody says no regrets, bro. I'm just like, and
underrated.
Can throw that in there. It is, but the no regrets thing, the RAGRETS with it's so great. But honestly, I can't hear that now without seeing that.
It's got you. It like you have like what's it called? A pseudonym, not a pseudonym, but a mnemonic. You have a mnemonic connection to it now. Where like it's like the memorization trick, regrets. Right? That's where you like. If you want to think of no regrets, if you want to make sure you never forget the title of We're the Millers, then you think about the phrase no regrets. And then that's the mnemonic. Anyway, Nick, audience polls, sir.
Yeah, audience man. We'll make some audience polls happen. It was great. Story is King is always wonderful because we get to learn even more about our guests, and that was great, Chris. I appreciate that. And David, it's David, like you're awesome. Those stories really, led us into the character of Dave Parks. So that was great. But for the audience polls, it's really simple, but it's one that is kind of a throwback as well, and it really gets into why we do what we do here. And so that's a lot of lead up, right? A lot of lead in. So let me just ask the question, right? So the poll we put out there was, if you can only have one, which would you choose? Pay for Hollywood movies or get free indie films for life? Okay. Those are the two options.
Explain that context, because that first question, the first option is a little confusing. Explain it.
Yeah. Pay for Hollywood movies. Right. So you got two options. You have to pay for something. You get something.
Oh, you don't get paid. You're either paying to watch.
Pay for it.
You're either paying to watch studio movies, or you get free indie movies for life.
For life.
But is it either or?
Yeah, you can only pick one.
You can only pick one.
What did the audience say, Nick?
So here's what the audience said. Okay, so at 76%, I'd rather pay for Hollywood movies.
Wow, that's really fascinating.
Yeah, and what's left over is your 24%. I'm going indie. Now, here's why this is important. There's a couple different reasons, and I want to get into it. But one of those is that honestly, the lament about Hollywood these days is palpable. Yeah. Right? We always talk about like they're just rebooting things. They're not inventing anything new, right? It's the same old thing. You got these tentpole pictures. You got cinematic universes that people are tired of. Yeah. Like there's like a constant flow of criticism. And then at the same time, those movies are still making money. They're not. Right. They may not be making the money that they wanted to make or anticipated making, but they're still making a bunch of money. Yeah. So we polled. We asked, like, hey, what do you think? And then people are still saying, oh, yeah, no. 76%, I'd rather pay for that.
They'd rather pay for that.
So here, as indie creatives, indie filmmakers, I always want to put that out to us, right? Out to people like you, David, right. and just put that poll out there and just get your thoughts. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. And it's tough because, some of the best movies we're seeing these days are indie films. So does that mean that suddenly, if you choose one, that means you would be excluding movies like, Coda and Anora and indie films that have made their way to the mainstream? And as a producer of, thus far indie films, the inclination would be to say that. At the same time, look, I'm a Star Wars fan. I like the franchise movies. Are they all perfect? No. But have I seen every Marvel movie multiple times? Yes. So the idea of not having that sort of escapism in my life on that scale would be tough to say no to. I'm going to go against what would be best serving for me. I'd say I'd probably pay to continue to see Hollywood and hope that there were enough good, well-written films that had that indie feel to it, but that were being made, by studios. I guess.
No, but I love that though, because you mentioned something that I think is completely true that our audience might be thinking, which is indie films generally speak to the reality of life, right? They're more real. They're more, hey, it's honestly like a working class perspective on things.
Yeah.
And Hollywood films are almost the opposite of that. You just said it, escapism, right? You need something to take you out of the daily grind, take you out of the things that you're doing on a regular basis. And some of these big bombastic films, like you said, Star Wars, Avengers, these types of things, do take you out of that. And I think that's what people need. I think there's a balance there. Of course, from an indie filmmaker's perspective, I know from yours as well, you need to be grounded in the real. But the idea, like you said, of now having to give up the escape, I don't know if people are willing to do that, and that's what the audience says, right? That's what.
I know we got to pay some bills, but I'd love to amend to that, Nick. Which is, I think somewhere deep down, you start to consider the options of the poll, and as a reader, you say to yourself, "I think Hollywood could make a Nora, but I don't think Sean Baker could make a Marvel movie without the studio." And that's the gamble. That's where you push your chips in on the studio-made films, because kind of to David's point, David, I know you're pointing this in a different direction, but like at some point you just hope, well, the studio will make a movie like Coda, right? But I can't rely on an indie filmmaker to make anything as big and bombastic as the Barbie movie, for example, right? Or any of the MCU stuff or DC stuff. So that, I think, is why people lean towards, when you start to think about it critically, you're like, what am I missing out on? Okay, I may not be missing out on anything given enough time.
Yeah, and there's one more thing in there, but David, I was going to mention is that I think the curation is a big deal. And I know that this is true for me. Like I love indie films, man. Like I could probably give up the Hollywood movies and go straight indie, but enjoying the best of what indie is, because when we say indie films, we still mean good indie films, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge is that those films are not curated the way Hollywood is curated. So if you go all in on indie, then you're going to do some work, right? You're going to have to do the work of identifying what are the best of breed, right, indie films to watch, and you may not want that work.
Yeah, and if I know you said you got to pay some bills, but if I can slightly disagree with you, Chris, on one thing, which is that a lot of today's big directors and filmmakers did start as indie filmmakers.
Yes, 100%.
So, I hate being a name dropper, but I'm going to name drop a couple people.
Please.
The Russo brothers. So I've known Joe Russo since back when he was doing independent film. Him and his brother did this first independent film. I'm blanking on what the name of it was, but that's how they started. And in fact, when they got tapped to do Captain America, the first one, it was like, wait, what? Do they know who they're talking to? Like this isn't your forte. They were doing comedy TV at the time, and all of a sudden they're doing this. So I like to think that they have not lost that sensibility, even though they have these massive budgets to do it. And then I also know I have friends who, a very good friend of mine, Aaron Schneider, directed Greyhound, which was on Apple TV. They're doing the sequel, Tom Hanks film. Yep. And Aaron also comes from a very indie-minded approach to filmmaking, and he did a short film that kind of helped launch his career, and I mean, it's all about story with these guys. So I mean, there are people whose first film, they come at it from a different way, and suddenly they're doing one of the Star Wars movies, and maybe they haven't worked their way through. But a lot of the people that I know in Hollywood movies did actually start in the more indie world.
No disagreements for you'll get from me there. We just had Jay Duplass at the Nashville Film Festival, and his career got started with a short film that made it to Sundance and did well with his brother, of course. But the whole thing was he was going to quit. He was 20 films in. He was like convinced that he wasn't making good art. And yeah, sometimes it's just a short film at the right festival that happens to be a market, and boom, your career takes off. Safdie brothers are another example of contemporary that kind of started indie and are going that direction. So no pushback from me on that one, brother. I totally agree. Nick, Papa Bear, David, can we just take a quick siesta to pay some bills, please?
A siesta, I like it. Let's do it.
Yep. Papa Bear getting
got the pen out.
Getting this pen a little bit moist.
Checkbook.
Get that check written. All right, let's pay some bills. We'll be right back. Shout out to this week's sponsor, Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings. I know I didn't, Nick. I don't think you did either. There's nothing sexy about that. If we're keeping it real, that's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on why you started your business in the first place. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all in one, remote friendly, and incredibly easy to use. So why not use it, right? You can pay, hire, onboard, support your team from anywhere. It's quick and simple to switch to Gusto, by the way. Quick and simple. Check this out. Just transfer your existing data to get up and running fast. Plus, don't pay a cent, not one penny, until you run your first payroll. Save time with automated tools built right in, offer letters, onboarding materials, direct deposit, and more. All the stuff we don't want to do. Gusto does it for you. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/make-it and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's an insane deal. 3 months free. 3 months a long time.
It is.
That's a lot of the year. You're good. You're set up for the first quarter of 2026.
That's a good
Gusto.com/make-it and get your first 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months free of payroll at gusto.com/make-it. Shout out to our sponsor, Anthropic, and their latest version of their AI model, Claude. I love Claude. Claude's internal and external research capabilities go way deeper than basic search. Think comprehensive, reliable search, analysis, proper citations for clients, turning hours of research into minutes. My favorite part is that it connects to other productivity apps on my phone, right? So now it's a high-end assistant or taskmaster in my pocket. I'm just talking about software here, guys. Settle down. You can even connect Claude to your professional tools like GitHub, Jira, HubSpot, Notion, Google Workspace, which a lot of my producer friends use. So that can come in great handy as well, and Notion as well. And watch it become your command center with context from all your work. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's the collaborator that actually understands your entire workflow and thinks with you, not for you. Whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move or even film production move, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that matter.
Right. So my advice is let Anthropic Claude be your secret weapon. Why? Because Claude helps you draft scripts, build pitch decks, write grant proposals, and even brainstorm character arcs, all while acting like a trusted creative partner. You can feed it pages of dialogue or production notes, and it instantly returns amazing summaries or even rewrites that preserve your voice. So whether you're refining a story, managing a shoot, or planning distribution, Claude can save you hours, letting you focus on what you do best, which is creating powerful human stories.
Yeah, 100%. And trust is a big deal, too. There just was released a Producers Guild list for AI, and Anthropic's one of the trusted software that you can use, one of the trusted AIs for your project if you want to maintain your IP and all your critical data. So if you're ready to tackle bigger problems, sign up for Claude today. Get 50% off Claude Pro when you use our link, claude.ai/make-it. Now, this is critical. all those letters need to be lowercase. So Claude.ai/make it all lowercase. And if you do that, you'll get 50% off your first 3 months of Claude Pro. And that includes access to all the features that Nick and I just mentioned. It's going to be just a powerhouse for you. Like Nick said, a creative partner. Again, the link is Claude.ai/make it all lowercase to get 50% off, 50% off your first 3 months of Claude Pro. All right. Now back to the show. And we're back. And you know what time that means it is, Nick, right? Like you know what time it is?
I know what time it is, man. It's time for some filmmaker Q&A.
That's right. I'm gonna check my watch.
Yeah, man. I saw PB checking it. And this is a wonderful time. And David, I wanted to let you know that I'm like really into making parallels these days with the projects and the things that our folks are working on and the filmmaking industry, because one of the things that I've come to learn over time is that people learn about different subjects in different ways. And sometimes if you can relate a topic to something that they're interested in, create a parallel that they haven't ever even thought of, it helps them to really get wrapped up in that subject matter, right? Like, oh yeah, I never thought about it like that. Like you brought something new to me and I didn't get it, right? You kind of shocked me with that. So we're going to make a little parallel today with The Short Game. Now I got to remind everybody, right? That just happens to be the title of your latest film. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. And I don't think we went deep into it, so I'm gonna let you do this real quick before I get into the Q&A. But what is The Short Game about?
So The Short Game is a feature film drama. It's about a talented high school golfer who is trying to win his state tournament and the college scholarship that goes to the winner, but his path and preparation are impeded by having to take care of his younger autistic brother. And so really at the end of the day, it's sort of a reconciliation story. The story is told not through the autistic brother, but through the golfer. And that's purposeful, trying to tell a story in a way that you don't normally see. Normally you see movies like this about the character who's autistic is the main character. He's certainly prominent in it, but it's told related through the game of golf, but and you could certainly call it a golf movie, but that's not really what it's about. It's really the heart about these brothers and about family, and that sometimes the answers to the challenges in life are right in front of you if you're willing to open your eyes and see that. And we expand on the gifts that the neurodiverse bring to our world. The project was brought to me by a friend of mine, Frank Sanza, who had written the initial script with a couple friends of his, and he wanted to make it he wanted to direct the film. And he brought me the script and I read it, and I said, I think you've got something here. And we spent the next almost 2 years reworking the script. The script itself was not in producible state. And so we rewrote it, and I brought in my wife, who's a screenwriter, and herself, who had directed a feature film before. So we thought we got it to a pretty good spot, and she's like, oh no, guys, this needs more work. And so we're smart enough to listen to her. And, but at that point it was just, get this one step in front of the other to get this made. But the social aspect to it, the idea of promoting the gifts of the neurodiverse was important to us. Frank's son has an autistic son, and he is an exceptional golfer. He always has been. So he took these two aspects of his life and brought them together in a fictional story. It's not autobiographical. He likes to point that out. And the last thing I'll say about it is we cast a truly autistic actor to play the younger brother, which itself had its own rewards. We felt you can't make a movie showing how great autistic kids are and then not cast an actual autistic kid to play the part. That would be hypocritical. So we did, and he's great and really makes the film authentic.
That's great, man. And, I appreciate you for making this film and for working with Frank over years, right,
Yes,
to make this thing happen, which is amazing. And you know, the folks who are watching will see that I've got my golf gear on here today. And I tell everybody, it's like, yeah, I'm not a golfer. I just play one on TV. So my son is getting into golf. And this year, as a freshman in high school, he made the golf team, which we were all very excited about. And he's bringing his dad along. You know, as I've mentioned before, I'm a soccer player. I don't know anything about golf, but for the past few years, I've been getting into it and learning about it. And it is definitely something that it teaches you about yourself. And it's also a great opportunity for me to spend time with my son. So I was like, well, here's David with this movie about golf. Right. And again, it's not just about golf, but it uses golf as a backdrop for a bigger social conversation. So I thought, hey, let's do that here on the Make It podcast. Let's use golf for a greater social conversation about filmmaking. You ready?
I'm ready
to do this. All right, let's do it. All right. So we're going to talk about the short game. And one of the first things that you have in the short game is you have a thing called chipping. Now, a chip shot requires control, touch, and judgment about terrain and distance, just as a rough cut demands discernment about pacing, tone, and rhythm. It's about getting close to the creative vision without overshooting or over polishing too early. So my question is, when reviewing a rough cut, how do you balance your emotional intuition with analytical objectivity in deciding what stays or what goes? Chris and I always talk about this idea of how do you know when or when not to kill your darlings?
Yeah.
That is an interesting connection there that I had not thought of, but I think you're right, and I use that phrase a lot. You know, killing your darlings, killing puppies, whatever you want to say. To it's hard. It is almost impossible to do. Actually, for me, I do
perfect for Halloween. By the way, thank you for that.
Yeah. I'm going to get all this hate mail now. You want to kill dogs? It's like, I've got dogs. I love dogs. Actually, I rely on the analytical side of it to do it. I have these questions that I look at every scene and ask myself, and this isn't unique to me. This is one of the tenets of filmmaking, is does this scene progress the story? Mm-hmm. Does this scene or the action within it propel the antagonist's journey towards his goal? Because if it doesn't need to be in the film. And I think that's a problem that a lot of films that are either anywhere from not good to okay suffer from, is that you fall in love with a scene or a shot and it's really doing nothing for the story. And the audience is pretty savvy. Even if they can't articulate it necessarily the way that filmmakers could, they sense it, and it starts to drag or it gets boring because it's not doing something. So minimally you want every scene to propel your story forward. If you can have a scene do two things at one time, propel the A story and show a character discovering something about themselves, you've achieved two things in one scene. And if you can layer it and have more than that, then you are doing it right. You are making a film that's going to work. So we tried really hard in the script process, in the writing process, to make sure that every scene did that, so that when we got to editing, we didn't have to then evaluate, because it's kind of too late then, right? Once it's shot, it's shot. So we tried to do that work ahead of time. And that way our editor could follow, for the most part, the script. And I don't think there's any scenes that we shot that were completely cut out of the film. We trimmed scenes, we moved things around, like where does it happen? But there wasn't a lot of wasted, oh man, we spent 2 days doing those two scenes and they're not even in the movie. We didn't have that.
I love it. And Chris, that's great, because that idea of that objective analytical thinking but doing that early.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where he's like, no, let's do that now, so that if we know that we've baked in the layers, then we know we've got something that's worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought the answer is spot on. I think the tough thing about watching it in the rough is you don't get the assistance of score. You don't get the assistance of, I mean, you have some placeholder stuff, but you're not getting you're trying to really watch performances and you're trying to watch rhythm and beats, because you're not going to get the emotion that you'd get from a finished film or even a director's cut, or that, as you progress along. And so it's a harder job than people realize, I think, to actually cut a good film before it's close to being done. So yeah, kudos.
Yeah, you have to rely on your editor, and that's we had a fantastic editor, Kevin Ross, who was a friend of mine from school. You turn to your friend, the people that you know. Kevin edited Stranger Things and Yellow Jackets and a lot of big hit TV, and he really wanted to do a feature, and the timing was right. And we're smart enough to let him, here's a script, here are dailies, do your thing. We tried not to start saying, okay, so when we shot this happened and you should fix it that way. We let him do his thing, and that's something else that helps, because then there's somebody who's much more objective than you are, right? Because you fall in love with lines, you fall in love with scenes, and there are elements that were cut out. Like I said, not full scenes, but there are sections of scenes that I can't even tell you now what they were, because the film works so well without them that I don't miss that they're not there. And that's part of letting go and letting somebody else sort of, tell you this works, this isn't working.
Yeah, and if I could just hop on my soapbox for a second, Nick and David, I just want to say how true it is about trusting your editor. Our editor took a project. I had a friend that had made a short film. I said, hey, Ken, can you edit this short film? They're going to have a student editor do it. And they spent all this money to get locations in New York. They needed it to be good, really good and pro. And he said, okay, I'll do it. And he said, Chris, the movie is done. We did a good job, but the sound is terrible. The sound's all over the place. And he didn't want to do it because it's just a short film. And it's going to cost this much to get the sound right. It's a short film. He doesn't want to do it. So I went and talked to him. And kudos to my friend, his name's Stuart, that listened. I said, Stuart, I understand that you're not going to go profit side on the short film, but then in that case, don't even release the film. That's how important getting the sound edit is right on the short. Spend the money. You're already in this much. Spend the money, get the sound right, give someone a pleasurable experience when they watch a short film. And that's the reward when you make a short film. Otherwise, don't even put it out. I mean, me and Nick are still sitting on a few things we shot early that just are bad representations of who we are as creatives, and we're just not going to put them out. And it's like, so either way, you're going to waste some money, but one kid has a way bigger reward if you go for it. And to his credit, he took the advice. The sound was great, and his short film has made festivals all around the world now. It's like it's going where it needs to go. It's doing more than it would have done with that sound mix. You just trust your editor that their name is on it too. And if it sucks, they're holding that matzo ball too. You know what I mean? So anyway.
Yeah. That's great advice. I mean, that's the kind of thing I'll probably steal that and use that in next time I speak to a class, because you're right. Now, I do always say that it's story, right? Yeah. It's all about the script. Great acting, great cinematography, great sound, great music is not going to save an inherently bad script, right? But if you have a good script, those elements will enhance it, tenfold. Mm-hmm. We actually had done our initial color correction. We're working on an indie budget, right? So we have limited funds, which means only can spend so much time color correcting. But we just weren't happy with where it was at. And we decided, look, this is going to live out, in the ether forever. Mm-hmm. Let's take the extra time. If we need to find more money, let's do that and really do a better color correction. And we did, and it is night and day better. The one that went to the festivals was the old one, and nobody said, "Oh wow!" Actually, we still had compliments on the cinematography, which was spectacular. But the finished version that was in the theaters and that everybody will see streaming, it's perfect. It's that perfect look.
Yep.
Well done. Well done. All right, let's move us on to the next part of our short game, which is bunker play.
Oh, you know all about bunker play, Nick.
Oh man, hey, I might live there half the time. You know,
you live in the bunker.
Hey,
he loves digging in those bunkers.
Part of the game. So, escaping a bunker tests the player's ability to stay calm, improvise, and make the best of a tough situation. Likewise, producers often face creative and technical setbacks like missing footage, continuity errors, unplanned reshoots. With that said, the greatest challenges also make for some of the greatest comebacks. So my question is, can you share a time when a major post-production setback ultimately led to a better final product?
Sure. So, I mean, thankfully, we didn't have lost footage or anything like that. But what did happen was we assembled the film. It was the first full assembly that we kind of watched and said, would inform us of whether this movie was working or not. And we showed it to a couple people, and a couple of this is where you just get so close to it that you don't even think about this. One person said, I finally figured out, but you never say anywhere in the first part of the movie that Ethan, the young brother, is autistic. Mm-hmm. And we're like, what do you mean? Of course he's autistic. And they're like, but does the audience who comes into this with nothing really know that? Because you could argue that he's just a cute kid with a speech impediment.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow. And then another person said, I get Jeremy's journey, but he is so angry at life at the beginning that he's not sympathetic. And these are things, I mean, again, we worked on this script, like Frank and his two friends, Larry Boatwright and Jordan Christensen, they had worked on it for a couple of years to get it to before I even saw it. And then Frank and my wife, Flory Lawrence and myself, we worked on it. And how could we have missed that, right? Here I am going on and on about script. So we actually went out and shot a new scene. We wrote a new scene that would drop in the sort of the first quarter of the movie that gave Jeremy the chance to be sympathetic and more loving and understanding of his brother. It explained out loud that he's autistic, and it also helped the third thing, which was this character Carly, who's kind of documenting Jeremy's year in golf. Mm-hmm. It kind of explained why she was doing it and what that vehicle was about, and it all blended together nicely because she'd say, "Okay, tell me about your brother," and he'd say, "Well, my brother Ethan, he's autistic." Boom, right? And he can be a challenge, and then he goes into these sort of loving statements, and so. That was like, oh my gosh, like, thank goodness, like we got input that showed us that. Otherwise, we would have put out a movie that a lot of people would have been confused about. But we were so close to it ourselves, we didn't notice. And thank goodness for that scene.
Yeah, and being able to do that, to create that extra scene, that's indie flexibility right there. Yeah. Can you imagine doing it on a feature, like let's say a Hollywood studio film? How much would that have cost? Mm-hmm. Right. What would the timing have been to even make that happen, to get the people back? And, I don't know what the timing was like for you, but I can only imagine how much more difficult that would have been if not for the indie world that you were in.
Yeah, it was 6 months after we finished filming, and we shot in a small town called Sherman, Texas, an hour directly north of Dallas, right on the Oklahoma border. And it's where Frank's originally from Northern California, from Napa. But a number of years ago, he moved there. So everybody loves Frank. This guy is the nicest guy. I mean, he walked like,
he is
Frank
Sansa.
shout out for sure. And he was such a great collaborator. I mean, that was number one. He trusted me. Sure, he would fight for the things he wanted, but he would listen, and it really was a collaborative process. But Frank is just so nice. He's so genuine, and the town just whatever you need. So we got so much for free. We got a free golf course to take over for almost 2 weeks. We got the school, the people, town folk coming out, people giving props. I mean, like everything that makes it an indie film.
I love that.
When we went to do the pickups, we actually flew to Atlanta, brought the two actors in, Ben Krieger, who plays Jeremy, and Emma Parks, who plays Carly. And we shot at our executive producer, who was our primary funder of the film, at his house. He said, just come down. We'll shoot at our house. We used his son is also a filmmaker. So he just said, I'll come and shoot it for you. So we did this. It was one day. It was only one day. And we went down and we just focused. We got it done in one day. And then we let Dan, our executive producer, make us his special chocolate martinis, and everybody had fun, right? and that was it. And so that's how we were able to do it, because it was a concern. Do we go to LA and shoot it? Where can we do it the most cost-effective way? But when we wrote the scene, we knew we had to write it like the whole film in a way that was producible on a indie budget.
That's amazing.
And just real quick there, Nick, the thing that he did there was he recognized he needed to do those pickups and reshoots, right? Like, how many times have we heard of indie filmmakers that just will say it's good enough? No, we're good. We can't do it. We're not good. It goes back to what I said before. Then just don't even put the movie out. Don't even put it out. If you're going to miss, think about our films. The John Shuck scene in All Light Will End, right? The pickup of the dad scene in Adult Interference. Hearing that from feedback. Another version of You, where we needed to know why Diggsy was willing to leave his family for this woman without having met her. We didn't get any backstory on them. And so they went back and shot team went back and shot a backstory where you get a sense of why he's in love with her so much, right? We had another instance that we got from feedback that without knowing it, because we're too deep into it, right, David? Without knowing it, his sister, the audience thought they should get together. The protagonist and his sister should get together. No, that's his sister. Well, you don't really make that very clear in the movie.
Right.
So we have to make it really clear, and they end up in hugs and intimate seeming moments that without the context of the sister seem like intimate moments when they're just loving family, moments in the way the thing was written. So I've had a lot of friends who I would go as far as to say, if you can get a diverse test audience for a screening, that's really great too. Obviously you want your circle of trust, but I think it'd have been interesting to say, hey, let's show this to an autistic person, right? And luckily you had Owen there, shout out to him. He could watch it, but show it to an autistic person and say, does this track? Right. Mm-hmm. My friend Casey did a movie named Soul. It would have been great if he'd have shown it to a black person. So a black person could say, you know what? This movie I don't like the way you're doing this, but he's so in it. He didn't see that. Right. So I do think you get inside of it too much, and you need that objective voice that you trust, or someone who doesn't have anything to lose by telling you the truth.
You do. And
not your mom.
Yeah. And if you're, I don't want to say if you're smart. If you're experienced, you have to leave a little bit of money to do that, right? There are, and I get it. Sometimes it's all you can do to just get it in the can, and then worry about editing and worry about post-production and worry about finishing and all that stuff later. Sometimes that's what it takes, and that's legit too. But my approach is, I want to make sure that I have all the money, whether it's $100 or $1 million or $10 million. You want to have all the money to do everything you need to do along the way. You don't want to get to a spot and say, oh, we really need to reach a pickup scene, but we can't do it. The other thing we did was where we did, I mean, we had a tight schedule, obviously. I actually pride us on, and our AD on, we rarely went into overtime. Like, I really believe in taking care of the crew, which is born out of my coming up through below the line, as a camera assistant and a camera operator and so forth. I take care of my crews. And if it's going to be a hard, long day, I'll tell them, like, I think today's going to be, but you're still always pressed for time. And one of the things we gave up on was we didn't finish a lot of the golf itself. So what would happen is in editing, after we finished shooting, the editor would say, listen, I really need a shot of a golf ball landing right to left and stopping 3 feet from the hole. Can you get that for me? And either Frank or I would run out to a golf course, not even necessarily the golf course that we shot at. And we'd set up a camera and we would throw a ball until it got, gave him some options. And then like a week later, he'd be like, okay, now I need a club head hitting. And so there was a lot of that. So when people say, they go, oh, you only had 1 day of pickups. Well, not really. Actually, we had more than that. We had some lines we had to get Carly sane. We had to shoot some reaction stuff with her. So we did that. And it's just an ongoing process. But, we did a very poor man's method. My favorite shot in the whole movie was shot on an iPhone. Shout out to Apple, right?
Let's go.
Which scene was it?
The slow-mo shot, and it's in our trailer also, the slow-mo shot of the ball. So the ball is sitting on the tee, the happy face. You see the happy face? Mm-hmm. I think I have the ball right. I think I have the ball here. I don't know. I have Bruce's ball here right now.
Showing us the ball from the movie?
Yeah. The ball's on the tee, and then I think so. Then Jeremy hits the ball, and the phone's down right in the grass. And we cranked it up, put it on 4K and cranked it up. And the sky was like a little bit dark. It was just serendipity. It wasn't, I'd like to say we did all these things. You can't control what the sky looks like. But he hit the ball perfectly. Actually, Aiden Alexander, who played Bruce, is a legit golfer. So he actually hit the ball. And it just goes away, but it stays in frame, and it just goes away from the camera. And it was shot on an iPhone. Everybody asks, how'd you do that shot? And you see little blades of grass kind of go up. Yeah. There's this perverse side of me that really wants to do a movie or even a short film on just an iPhone, like the new iPro 17 commercials.
Make it happen.
I would love to do that. Hey, Apple, if you're watching, because you can do that.
Yeah, that's great. And Chris, one of the things I wanted to mention in this is the beauty in understanding the value of your executive producers beyond the financing. Like, Chris, you and I talk about that all the time. It's like, this is a resource that you have. Like, if you think about them as just the money, you're really losing out. Your executive producers can bring so much to the table, even as you mentioned, not just the house, but a son who's also a filmmaker, right? Yeah. There's who knows how many different resources your executive producers have access to. Bring them into the project. Yeah. Don't think about them as just dollar signs, because you're losing out on the significant value that they could provide. So I love the fact that you brought them in.
That's so true. Dan Hagel, and look, like we have kudos to all our investors. They all, like the ones that came in early, Dan came in a little bit later. The ones that came in early are how we got to the point where we could even move forward. Dan came in and he has been so supportive but without being like, he's trusted us. And the scariest moment was when we showed him the film, and it was actually the first time, it was before that we did the pickup scene. And we sent it to him on like December 30th. And he, we said, here's the link, and we waited, and we don't hear anything, and we don't hear anything. It's New Year's Eve, and it's January 1st, and we haven't heard anything. And Frank and we are freaking out. Have you heard from him? I go, no, nothing. So I was like, okay, I bet you he hasn't watched it, because we knew he was going to be traveling and stuff. So I sent him an email and I said, hey, if you're having a problem with the link, I'm trying to come up with some indirect way and, let us know.
Yeah.
And then he writes, he goes, I'm so sorry. We just haven't had a chance to watch him and his wife. We've just not had a chance to watch it yet. So I was like, okay, so at least it doesn't mean he hasn't liked it. But now he still hasn't watched it. And another day goes by and another day goes by. And then finally, all of a sudden, an email. So I'm getting ready to how am I going to poke him again, right? And I get an email, and I'm so nervous to click on it, and it just says, "Finally watched the film. My wife and I were in tears.
Ooh.
It is so good." And I was like, I mean, that was one of just a seminal moment in the process that he was happy because he has a lot at stake, right? And even now he's still wrote me the other day and I just want you to know that we are so happy with this film, regardless of what happens, whether we, financially, obviously there's a lot at stake and I feel a lot of pressure to make him whole, but despite that, he is still super happy, and that means a lot.
Yeah. Jonathan Bowen, one of our guests that we had on, I think a couple of weeks ago, said it best. So, once you make a film, it's in the world forever. It's part of history. And when you do a good film, it's such a gift. It's priceless. So, yeah, kudos.
Yeah, that's great, dude.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah. So now we got to move on from what do we just do? Our bunker play.
Bunker play, yes.
Yeah. Into our where I like to live, into our putting game, right? So our putting is the most delicate and decisive part of the short game. Every motion counts, and focus is everything. Now, the final cut is where precision meets vision. That's where we lock in timing, emotion, and clarity for our audience. So the question is, after going through this whole process of filmmaking, what mindset do you adopt in the final days before picture lock to ensure that your decisions are made with clarity rather than fatigue?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's tough. I'd like to say that you're confident by that point, but you just don't know. I try and get some sleep. I guess it's really try and step away from it for a little bit, and then try and watch it that one last time with not looking at it with a critical eye for little moments, because you always see mistakes. You see things that you wish you could change, or that you would have done differently. But it's more, what's the experience? Just watch it. What's the experience of watching this movie going to be? And I will say honestly that, I've seen the movie hundreds, if not 1,000 times, right? And I never get tired of watching it. I'm still moved by certain aspects of it. I am still, cheering or surprised. And there's a twist in the middle that we work really hard not to give away, but with one of the characters, and I still feel that so strongly when I see it, for the 1,000th time as I did the first time, and I know that it's working. So I don't know if I'm answering your question specifically, but it's just try and step back and look at it and say, is this working? Let go of the little things, and then just try and take it in, and I think that's the best you can do. Stuff that there's things that you can't. Don't worry about the things. There's a line in the movie. I'll put it this way: there's a line in the movie. There are things in your control, and there are things that are not in your control. Worry about what you do with the things that you can control is up to you, right? I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but
Yep.
And that's ultimately when you go to finish the film. That's what you have to say. We've done the best we can. We've done what we could, and don't worry about the things you can't control now. So
Yeah, I love it, man. And just sitting back a little bit and just honestly enjoying the process at that point, right? Enjoying what you've made as opposed to being overly critical, I think is a way not to succumb to the fatigue, because I think the fatigue is, as they say, that analysis paralysis, right? If you continue to overanalyze and don't just enjoy it, then yeah, it's tiring, because you're either always trying to fix something that either you can or you cannot fix, right? Or you're just not enjoying this work of art that you made. So I think it's a great answer.
We had a ton of fun on it, and thankfully, again, this speaks to, like, Frank. We get and we'd have to remind each other of this sometimes. It'd be like, okay, let's just live with this and move on, and then take the other person to say, no, we've spent this much time. What's one more week or 2 more weeks? I mean, especially when we were finishing the film, we had targeted the end of April, and then it became the end of May.
Yeah.
But it was worth it, because at that point, why not? And Chris, that's what you were saying earlier. Like take the time. Don't blow it in the fourth quarter, like the last 2 minutes of the game. Don't blow it. Finish strong.
Get the best movie you can get out, and I promise you, you will not miss that money on your deathbed. Listen, I've been homeless and I've had a little bit of money, and I feel very qualified to say this. I've lived on both spectrums of that thing, and money spent is all that is. It's not going to make you happy. It's not going to fulfill you. It's not going to, fill any sort of gap that you have going on from the past, or anxiety for the future, or whatever it may be. Money's a great tool. It fixes a lot of sort of the living problems, but that big thing, that whole, did I make a great film? Can I make some great art? Can I contribute to society? Did I make someone else's life better? Are the people around me happy and secure? Money can do that last part a little bit, but the point is emotionally secure. Let's put it that way. Like all those big deathbed things, just make a great movie.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what do you, when you look back, it's the stories, right? We're sitting here and we're all telling stories, because that's what makes your life, right? And to have had this experience with Frank, a friend for decades prior to us never did we dream that we would make a movie together. And we did, and it's a special thing. It was, for me, it was kind of like a gift that I got it, but it was also a gift for me to help him realize his dream. And as you all may or may not be aware, my daughter is in the film, and it was a big deal. She played Carly, and that was a big deal. And she wasn't even supposed to play Carly. The actress who was playing her filmed one day and then tested positive for COVID and had to drop out. And then Frank, not me, in fact, I was against it initially. Frank asked, even though he had lots of other options, he asked Emma, who had a much smaller part, she was originally going to play Erica, to then, take on this lead role. And so that was a gift to me also, to have this experience of working with my daughter and helping her realize a bit of her dream. And man, she just did, hole in one, to, pun intended.
It's the indie way.
Yeah.
It's the indie way.
And yeah, you do it. You do what you got to do. So, but these are all, it's the experiences I'm going to look back on and it's like that for everything I've ever done. It's like it's not the event, it's not the game, it's not the movie, it's the friendships, the relationships, the stories that we get out of it. It's that to me is the fulfilling part of the being in entertainment.
Yep,
that's beautiful. That's right.
No regrets.
No regrets. All right, so we got our final one. Of course, now we're going to be reading the green. So when we're reading the slope and the speed of the green before putting, that mirrors the strategic foresight needed for sales, festival placement, and marketing. Success in indie filmmaking depends on anticipating these kind of subtle shifts in audience behavior as well as industry trends. So my question to you is, in your view, how early in the filmmaking process should a producer begin shaping the distribution strategy?
Well, distribution changes like the weather. So, what I did on my first film 20 years ago and in projects subsequent, it just constantly changes. So this was almost like starting over. We knew we wanted to run the festival circuit, and we did that, and thankfully had a very successful run through it. You just never know. I mean, and what's great about festivals is that it's the first time you're getting honest feedback from people who have no vested interest in your film, right? Mm-hmm. So just to be accepted into a film festival means somebody is responding to your film and likes it, and probably somebody who has some savvy in the business. And then seeing the audience reaction is accompanies that. But the strategy of what to do theatrically, what to do, the best thing you can do is you can educate yourself. I wish I had known earlier all the different avenues. Mm-hmm. We didn't really start digging into what our options would be for distribution until we were on the festival circuit, in part because we were focused on making the film. And then we're traveling around the world with this thing to film festivals and getting kind of caught up in that. And so I don't think it's something you need to worry about before you make the film. Focus on making the film and getting it as good as you can. But I do think that as you are approaching in your post-production, you're approaching the end of it, the best thing you can do would be to educate yourself on the different, theatrical, domestic, international, VOD. There's not just VOD. There's PVOD, TVOD, SVOD. There's airlines. There are so many different avenues. I think at some point you do have an idea of where, do you have a realistic chance of being released theatrically? That's, but that depends on the film, but you don't put all your eggs in one basket either. Like, it's not the end of the world these days if you don't have a theatrical release. You're going to probably make more money back streaming than you are in theatrical. But so I guess it's early, but not too early. Like, finish the film and then start thinking about that.
Yeah, well, I'll have to say, man, when I first saw that you have this film and I got to watch it, the first thing I thought of is like, well, why isn't every high school golf team watching this movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The nuances of distribution, of theatrical distribution, there's stuff that, even though we were told stuff, there's things that happen that were both good and not good for, getting it out to audiences that way. I mean, fortunately, like I said, for us, it was always we never expected to be or planned to be in 1,500 theaters around the country. We decided to oversee our own distribution. I mean, we had a legit distributor, and we had, lots of great companies helping us, but we did not choose to sell the film outright, which we had the option to do. And that was part of our executive producer making that decision, because I said, my goal at this point is to make you whole, and then let's go make another movie. But if you want to make real money on this, it means a different path, but you're risking, you may make less than you would if we just sold it, and broke even. So that actually helped me that he wanted to roll that dice. But I wish I could, if I had to do it again, I'd probably do a few things differently. And it's not a no regrets. It's more just about having that education on it. And but there's so many options, so many ways to get it out there. And we're hoping that through our streaming and our what we call partner VOD, where we're actually going to make this available to autism organizations. As an example, we have a list of 1,000 autism organizations around the country. So we're going to release it on a platform that will allow these organizations to push it out to their people, and they'll stream it, but then we will give a portion of every viewer's ticket, so to speak, of their VOD payment back to the organization.
Good.
That's going to be the way to tap that. We hadn't thought about high school golf teams, but that's legit too. But we are looking at golf and caddy programs and things like that, and also family and just every kind of audience that you think this film would appeal to. So that is part of the plan.
Okay, good. Yeah, because it's something that Chris and I, we always tell filmmakers is that really start thinking about that. In those early stages, I know that from your
marketing
perspective, especially as a producer, your job and your job is primarily get that thing made, right? And I think for Chris and I, we're always like, look, if the filmmaking teams could grab a second producer that focuses on all of this, the distribution, the sales strategy, the marketing, right? The connecting with the organizations, let that be their job so that by the time it's done, all of that stuff is worked out. That's a better way to go. And unfortunately, that's not a way that people think about it, right? It's about making the film. And we're just like, no, man, that's the missing piece of the indie puzzle is having that producer who's focused on that strategy, because then that relieves some of that from you, right? As a producer of the actual film production, having that additional marketing, distribution, and sales, that's an additional weight on your shoulders on top of the weight of the production itself. It's a lot. And I understand why you say that. You say, wait till the end because you can't carry that burden with the burden of the production.
And it's hard to get somebody to come in and be a producer, though, Nick. I would say,
yeah.
That's a yes and, right, Nick? Because just like, I don't know if people understand how producers get paid. So if you are doing a studio film, you get $12,000. That hasn't changed since 1971. And then when the film's greenlit, you get paid again. And then I think you get the other half of that $12,000, during that process once it's finished. In indie film, you don't get paid anything up front, and you take the fee from the investment, but whatever your above the line fee is. But are you going to split that with somebody else? Are you going to be able to convince another producer to come in and work for zero?
The indie world it provides a lot more flexibility.
Right? It does.
So,
but I'm just saying it's tough to find somebody and say, hey, you're not going to be. Here's the percentage of the movie you're going to get. And here's what you're going to do. And here's what I'm going to pay you right now. And then see if you can get somebody that you like. And if you can, great. But if not, I think the shortcut there, Nick, is just hire a sales team. And then the question then is, do I hire the established guys and blow the budget? Or do I hire somebody young and hungry and wanting to make a name for themselves? And that could work. I think the same decision has to kind of be made on distribution if you don't get a deal from the distributor you wanted, which is like, okay, do I go with the established distributor that has a ton of films but a better name and maybe more platforms, or do I go with the young, hungry, scrappy indie distributor who's going to have my link and key art on everything they post in social media and every place?
Yeah, and
there's a lot of decisions you have to make.
Chris, I think outside of the box.
Marketing much earlier and distribution much earlier, and frankly, Nick, being in the black before you shoot is chef's kiss, Nick. That's where you want to be.
I think outside of the box. So my whole point is that like David has already learned a lot.
Oh, David's the man.
He's learned a lot through the process, right? But listen, he's had to learn a lot through this process, and he's got new knowledge.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, how wonderful would it be if indie filmmaking had that role pre-built?
Yeah, man.
Right? It was built into the process such that person could be there and help along the way.
Yeah.
How wonderful would it be that if film schools would teach
schools don't teach it.
New job right? This new thing. And how wonderful would it be if we could just continue to be advocates for that role? Because that role could be the person who's interested in marketing, right? That person who's sitting in school and wants to be a marketing major, isn't sure where to go. You could go into filmmaking and you could be that person who helps to upsell the film, who really thinks about what audience are going to. Yeah. David said it. It changes like the wind, but that's what marketing is about. It's about understanding the wind.
I have a theory.
And being able to operate in that space. And I think if, as indie filmmakers, we were to adopt that role, right? Don't make it some unique thing that you and I invented. No, make it part of the process. I really do believe that would be a game changer for independent film in general.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with the need for it. There's some details in the middle of that would have to get cleaned up. But I do have a theory on why film schools don't necessarily teach marketing and distribution as well as they could. And my theory is that filmmaking is art. Because if you go to Wharton Business School or you go to IE or any of the great business schools, they'll teach you about sales and marketing. Basically, if you fail as a business, it's because you didn't have enough sales, and you probably didn't have enough sales because you didn't market very well. Films are little LLCs, right? So they are little businesses. The same thing that you learn in a business school can be applied to your film, except for the fact that your film is also an art piece. It's also art. And at some point, a decision was just flat out made, Nick, in my opinion, that it would be better to teach the artist how to be an artist than to teach the artist how to be a business person.
Well, here's my take on that, Chris. And David, I would love to get your take on this.
Teach them filmmaking, don't teach them.
Yeah, well, I would love to get your take on this from the, especially from the USC standpoint. But it's like this: it's not, they're teaching them the art and not the business because they're supposed to lend their art to the business. I'm making you an artist to go work for a studio, right? I'm not making you were the artist in the cog in the whole machine.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not teaching you how to be the machine. I'm teaching you how to be the cog.
Yes.
So you need to play your part, which is the artist. So now when you go work for Disney, all that marketing stuff you're talking about,
Mark Maxey.
There's a department for that.
Remember?
Right? The sales, there's a department for that.
He's like, I never touch it.
There's a department for that. Yeah. But that's not the way of the indie. David?
No, you're right. And so I mean, first of all, what I would say about film school is that most people like me go to film school because we are creative. We think of ourselves as artists and if I was if business side of it is what I wanted to do, I wouldn't be going to film school. Now, USC, fight on, it has the Peter Stark producing program, right, which is a unique producing program that does focus on that aspect of things. That's not what I was in. So for me and most you guys and most people, it's learn as you go, experience it. Now I know. So I know, like, if I turned around and did another, theatrical feature film like this, I would take this knowledge and I would do it differently. And again, we had people advising us, helping us, and saying, here are your options. No one can guarantee you anything. Even when they love your film, you just don't know. I mean, social media is king right now. We relied heavily on social media. I learned a ton about social media that I didn't know, and how, like, the very specifics of how, not just your basic viewership, but, what you can and can't do on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and how metrics are broken down, and how things become viral, and so now I have this wealth of knowledge that I would definitely want to apply for my own projects. But for me personally, I also, because I think of myself as more creative, is, while at the end of the day as a producer, I am the nuts and bolts guy. Mm-hmm. My strength and what maybe separates me is that as a writer and a director myself, and even as a former cameraman myself, I bring a very artistic, everything I look at is from the creative standpoint. And then I let that inform the producing side of, okay, I know creatively we want to do this. How do we do it for this amount of money? And that's the kind of nice thing. And that, I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble, is that they either have this pie in the sky vision creatively that they'll never be able to do for the money they have, or they have money, but they don't have any sensibility to on the creative side that then says, I mean, they blow their budget because they go out and they build these fancy sets, or they focus 30% of the budget on the first 10 minutes of the film, and that becomes the problem. So I like having the balance myself, but I think, Nick, I think you're right that for the independent filmmaker in the indie world, having that would be an interesting role to have, and then free yourself up. Look, I spent a lot of time on the set with Frank. Frank was a first-time director, and he wanted the sort of partnership. I fortunately hired a really good line producer who had been a producer himself. It's almost unfair. I mean, we gave him a co-producer credit because he did a lot of the heavy lifting with keeping us on track budgetarily and making sure things happen that normally I would be doing myself. But I was on the set a lot more than maybe most producers would be in a watching this, talking with Frank. This is working. Maybe we should do this. Do we need to rewrite that? And so that's just surrounding yourself with good people. So you're just suggesting an extension of that. Find that one more good person who, while we're doing all of that stuff, they're already pushing social media. They're already, lining up, potential buyers or distributors way earlier.
You got it. Yeah, you got it. And I think that's, I would love to see that for indie film. But I would say, man, like, these are some amazing answers. I feel like our audience is going to get so much from this. And also just so much from the idea that, as you said, you learned a lot and you continue to learn. And that's important for our audience. Like, that's one of the things that is important to us, is that it's continuous learning. We haven't figured it all out, right? Which is why we have people like you on this show, right? To help us learn more. Yeah. And if we can offer anything back to you, then that's our goal. So that, honestly, you killed Filmmaker Q&A. You knocked it out of the park. Yeah, man, I really appreciate that.
Thanks. And that's a good point. I just say that's a great point. Like, I always go into it. I don't know what it is I'm going to learn, but I know there's going to be something. Like, I think, okay, on this one, I learned these 5 things on the last one, so surely I know everything now, right? Big mistake. Nope. Or the challenges come up that you just have to, it's not even about knowing. It's the best you can do is anticipate. I say one of my superpowers is I have the ability to evaluate a situation and very quickly make a decision. We're going to do this, right? That's a really great asset to have, but you just have be prepared. We talked about be prepared for the things that you can anticipate, and that puts you in a better position to deal with the unforeseen. We shot in 110 plus degree weather every single day for 3 weeks.
Insane.
Wow.
I knew it would be hot. I did not think it would be that hot. And so that presented challenges.
Poor makeup person, hair person.
Hair and makeup, hydration. People say, did you stay on budget? I'll say, well, I'll tell you where we went over budget was in water. Just water, liquid IV, Gatorade, stuff like that.
Yeah. Keeping
people hydrated. It had an effect on Owen, right? As this, 12-year-old kid. Not so much because he's autistic. He's just a 12-year-old kid. We can suck it up. We're used to it. But you're asking this kid to be out on a set in this kind of weather. And so that's the kind of stuff that you can't prepare for, but you just have to be able to make the decision. How are we going to deal with this? Well, we don't want anybody in the hospital. We're going to make sure they're hydrated. We need to stay on schedule. So let's get some more air-conditioned vans that people can take a break in right on the side of the golf course. So stuff like that.
I love it, and the ever learning opportunity, and I think that's a great segue, Chris,
yes,
into this next learning opportunity that we have with producer Papa Bear.
He's hot, Don't give him a glass of water; just pour the whole cooler all over him. He's been waiting in the cut, man. You've been chilling in the cut.
He's ready though.
PB in the cut. So, are you ready for this, PB? There's things we should know. You've been patiently waiting.
I am ready. And one thing we know by this point is that we've been talking about movies and we've been talking about golf. Mm-hmm. And so you can probably guess what this question is going to be. And this one has a special caveat to it because it can have two correct answers.
Oh no!
Ooh.
Oh no!
Okay.
It's already starting.
Let's see what you got, BB.
Oh my gosh!
What was the first feature-length golf movie, and in what year did it come out?
What was the first feature-length golf movie, and what year did it come out?
And there could be two answers.
So I'll tell you why that is.
Okay, go ahead.
Feature length has a different definition depending on what organization defines it.
Oh, wow. I thought a feature was just anything over 40 minutes.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, they like 40 minutes or more.
Yeah.
But the Screen Actors Guild says 60 minutes.
Okay. I wonder why that is. Is that a day rate thing? What is that? David, do you know why that is?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a thing we should know, though. We should know that. We should find out.
Things we should know.
Nick, was the Legend of Bagger Vance remake by Will Smith? Was that a remake, or was there an original?
I don't think it was a remake. It's based off of a book, and I don't remember.
The book I think is called The Legend of Bagger.
Yeah, it was based off of a book.
Yeah, I don't remember a film.
But there was an original
Will Smith one.
Film first before they made that.
I remember reading the book when I was in school, and I don't remember a film that was associated with it. That's not saying that there wasn't one.
Okay,
but you're
right. You're right that there's a lot of things are just remakes. You don't know it. My fear is that there's something out there that's older than all of us, and we would never know that.
You're right.
It's easy to jump to. I immediately think of the golf movies that have been in my lifetime, and I'm like, okay, so when was Caddyshack? Was that before The Greatest? What was? I'm not blanking on the name of it.
It was before The Legend of Bagger Vance. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
right. So then, what was before? Tin Cup was after it, so that wasn't. Yep. I assume you'd consider Caddyshack a golf movie.
Definitely a golf movie. Yeah, Caddyshack. Shout out to Bill Murray.
Yeah, like you said, Tin Cup came after that, and then
because I don't even know how popular golf was, Nick. When was it at its height of popularity? I guess it got popular in the 50s and 60s, right?
Well, but you got to forget, he said feature film, but also you have to think about feature film is a feature film by length. So it could have been a documentary.
Oh.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
You see his face, little perk. You see Papa Bear's face, how it's perked up a little bit. I think he just hit something. That's if he was on the lie detector, that little thing would have been boop. It would have been boop.
Yeah, and remember, he also mentioned
the EKG would have jumped.
And he also mentioned the idea of the 40 versus 60 minutes, right? So the feature film could have been what we would have considered a short, which could have been 45 minutes.
Oh my God! I have a guess
right now.
Okay, I have a guess.
I have
a guess, and Nick, if you don't have a guess, that's fine. David, if you please guess if you have one. It just freaking hit me because you said documentary. There was a woman who, and I'm forgetting her name, she was considered the best athlete of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and they made a documentary after her. There's never been a better female golfer, and I'm forgetting her name. But she had short hair. She's a white lady, short hair, I believe. And I think that's it. Even though I'm not giving you an answer, that's kind of an answer. So
Well, no, I mean, that's an answer. Yeah. That's an answer. It's closer than I'm going to get. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, David.
If we after this, because we don't want to cheat, if we can find that name, that would be great.
Well, you see, Chris, you're stealing my thunder, man.
Yeah. Oh, you're about to cheat?
Okay. Yes,
cheat, huh?
David. I'm telling you, he's driving me to cheat. I am at this point where, like, the last couple questions, I'm like, man, I just want to Google that.
I think I know who you're talking about. I'm trying to think of her. For some reason, the name Babe comes up in my head. That, like Babe Zacharias or something.
She was not. Yes, she's an immigrant.
But I mean, I'm not going. I couldn't even tell you. I'm sure there's a documentary out there about one of the old time great golfers, like Snead or Palmer or someone like that from way back, Bobby Jones. But I don't know what those would be. I
guess
we just got to ask Papa Bear, bro. Let's just do it.
Papa Bear, break it down.
I'm going with Caddyshack. That's my guess.
Okay, let's just go.
All three of you are so young that you didn't even discuss the possibility of Jackie Gleason, Bing Crosby,
oh my God,
Bob Hope. All actors.
Bob Hope loved golf.
Really into golf, all three of them. But it was neither of them. To impress a wealthy young woman, a clerk pretends he is a pro golfer.
Okay, that's what we were all doing.
The 1927 film, Spring Fever.
1927
Man, that was like
silent comedy.
That was a year after
my dad
I was born.
wasn't even alive yet. My dad wasn't even alive yet, and he's 95.
Spring Fever?
Spring Fever.
Who's it starring?
Golf on film.
Who's it starring?
Well, William Haynes, Joan Crawford, and George K. Arthur.
George K.
Yeah, wow. Joan Crawford.
Wow.
Now, the other correct answer is the 1926, a year earlier film.
Oh, wow.
Which was only 58 minutes. West of Broadway came 1 year before Spring Fever, although it was as much a Western as it was about golf.
How?
Wow. A Western golf film.
How was it just as much a Western as it was about golf? That's a heck of a studio pitch. Right?
There you go.
Gunsmoke.
Bruce
and Caddyshack. Bruce
Elwood, a Wyoming rancher, hears that golf champion Freddie Hayden is in an area golf tournament. He sends word that he would like Freddie to come teach golf lessons at his cowboy golf club. Upon arriving, and much to the dismay,
of course,
Freddie turns out to be a woman.
So it is
and all of a sudden his ranchers cannot seem to keep their eye on their work.
I see.
So they lose it, and they neglect their chores, and they all really want to learn golf.
I'm going to give it to West of Broadway. I think West of Broadway is the first feature film about golf. 58 minutes. They couldn't fit 2 more minutes in there to satisfy the SAG. Come on, the SAG Astros.
At the time.
Spring Fever was an hour and 18 minutes. So.
Wow. Well, PB.
It's not shocking that, there was a movie in the 20s or movies in the 20s about golf, but, you just kind of, it's hard to, like baseball, right? I mean, I think of lots of baseball movies from way back. It just seemed to be a really easy, or even football, where football is part of it. And I picture black and white films and stuff, but golf, I just hadn't thought about the history of golf movies.
Yeah, it's
not.
That's definitely a thing Western. We should know.
I'm like, wait, what?
I think that's a thing we should know. I think he did it.
It is. I love it.
PB, I've got one for you.
That's why I love this.
PB, I've got one for you. Here's the thing you should know, PB, because David just brought up baseball and the age. Baseball's our oldest sport. And the reason we have the Major League Baseball, professional baseball, is because a few players got together and decided they wanted to be paid. Most of the players that were playing baseball at the time were just doing it for free, just as a pastime, and they rejected the money. They were like, "Oh, that's not our game. You want to get paid to play? That's bullocks." Sorry to my people out there in the UK. Get out of here. They abandoned those guys, and the guys who decided to get paid turned into the National Baseball League, if I'm not mistaken, which eventually turned into Major League Baseball. There's the thing you should know.
I'm going to have to disagree and push back a little bit because I think my high school sport is probably older.
Wrestling? God, that's a good point. You're right. But is that an American sport or is it a Greek? Exactly. It's a Greco-Roman sport.
Well, you didn't say American.
I said our. When I say our, I mean America. Look at Nick's hat. USA.
Look, the oldest sport is soccer. So the oldest sport is soccer. It was
America's?
It was it was
not America.
It is the oldest. No. Listen, it's the oldest sport in any country, on any continent, anywhere in the world. You know why it's the oldest sport? You know how I know that?
Kick rocks.
No, just because I said
it. Yeah, you can picture cavemen picking rocks around, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Listen, David.
Get that rock in that cave.
Wait, David. You got to understand. You got to listen. So, over the summers when I was a kid, my parents would send me to go hang out with my grandparents in South Carolina. And where they sent me in Sumter, South Carolina, there's like nothing to do. No. So like I'd be out there with a racquetball racket and gravel from my granddaddy's driveway, just hitting rocks into the field. So I'm saying you can do anything with rocks, man. You can kick rocks, you can hit rocks, you can jump rocks,
climb rocks.
Anything, but the thing also, anything can be a soccer ball. And there you actually, if you travel to, third world countries and stuff, and you visit villages and all, and they'll take like a shirt and they'll wad it up, or they'll take, they'll make
rubber
soccer
bands.
balls. They'll make balls out of any material,
human ingenuity,
and use it
unbelievable
to have fun. And not that you can't do that with other sports, but it's harder. You can't just make a basketball out of rock. Rocks and basketball don't mix. One dribble. That's it.
No. Rocks and basketball turn into an Olympic sport.
Shot put. That's how we got. And folks, that's how we got shot put. This has been story time. Chris, Nick, and Papa Bear.
Nice circle we made there.
Yeah, exactly. You're right about the country, though, man. I have a friend named Mario. Shout out to you, Rio, if you're listening, watching. Lived in Huntland, Tennessee. It's a place you never heard of. And, man, I went there to visit him and hang out with his mom at the time. And over the farm next to his, there's the guy petting a horse. And as in the morning, he's just petting the horse. And we come back out late at night. I'm like, man, he's still petting that horse. There ain't nothing to do here. There's nothing to do here. He's still petting the horse. Leave that horse alone, bro. That's enough already. Anyway, thank you, Papa Bear. Yeah. That is definitely a thing we should know. David, are you ready to clear the set, my friend?
Let's clear the set, bro. Let's do this, David.
We're going to clear the set.
You're having too much fun.
David, what are your top 3 films?
My top 3 films are, I think, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Ooh,
is a masterpiece film. It is so good that every time I see it, even though I know what happens at the end, I believe I am still questioning what he's going to do.
Oh wow!
What the Jack Nicholson character is going to do? Is he going to leave, or is he going to come back? You laugh, you cry, you're moved, it's thoughtful. I think it is just genius filmmaking. My Desert Island film is Raiders of the Lost Ark. I've probably watched that more than any other movie.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. I have a special side thing why I liked it, because I went and saw it when the day it opened, and I was just blown away by it. And I got my dad I said, Dad, you've got to come see this movie. So my dad and I went to the movie like a day later, and I saw it again, and the audience was like amped up, and just, people were so excited. And one guy stood up and said, "It's my girlfriend's birthday," and everybody's saying happy birthday. And my dad's just sitting there kind of like, like, what is going on here? And then the movie starts, and the whole opening scene. And then And I keep looking at him, and everybody else is cheering and yelling and like, whoa, whoa, what's going, and he gets in the airplane, and then there's a snake in the airplane.
Yeah.
And my dad is like, nothing, right? Nothing. And then the scene finally ends, and I look at him, and he takes this deep breath, and he's like, what an open. And he was just like, it was great. So I always remember that very fondly. It's not like it was the only time I ever went to a movie with my dad, but it was just this one kind of moment that I just remember. So those two, and wow, number 3 is kind of hard. I've always been partial. Yeah, God, it's a tough one. I've always been partial to The Sting.
Yeah.
In terms of like a fun, well thought out, movie that's well acted and well directed, and it's not this incredibly thought provoking film. But it's that. People think it's interesting that I don't say Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but for me, it wasn't like. I don't know, for some people, especially a lot of people in filmmaking, they're like, that's the movie that did it for me. And I love Star Wars, and I even really love Empire Strikes Back. And I remember the anticipation of those movies coming out, especially when you're a kid. But I'd say those. I'll say Rocky was another really great one. Rocky was the first time I ever went to a movie where people literally stood on their feet and cheered. When they got to the final fight scene, somebody stood up in the front and everybody stood up and were just, come on, Rock, come on. That's movie. That's a movie going experience.
Freaking love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Rocky, arguably the greatest indie film of all time. Name the film you're embarrassed to admit you haven't seen.
Well, I'm not one of those people that not seen Star Wars. Man, I've seen a lot of movies. What have I?
Spring Fever.
Yeah, I've not seen Spring Fever or Western Broadway or whatever you said it was called.
West of Broadway.
West of Broadway.
But he's not embarrassed that he hasn't seen those. What film are you embarrassed you haven't seen?
It was not until I was in film school that I'd never seen Citizen Kane, and I finally watched that. So, I mean, compared to how old I am now, that's still a long time ago. But at the time, I mean, the fact that I had gone to film school and had not seen Citizen Kane, people were like, "What? What are you doing here?"
Right? Yeah.
I don't typically go to horror films, even though I actually have worked on some of the classic horror films. But so there's a bunch of those. My son's always like, Dad, did you see this? Did you see that? I'm like, nope, didn't see those. I don't know that there's anything that I'm embarrassed that I haven't seen, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Have you seen Coming to America?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. He's good.
So, the professor who I talked about, who I would call and get advice, he was the cinematographer on that.
Boom.
That's amazing.
There you go. That's perfect.
What an amazing connection.
You might be embarrassed that you saw it.
No, the first Come to America is incredible.
One of the greatest
this remake thing is
time.
Yeah,
the remake was awful.
The first one is
the second one we don't talk about.
Freaking
no, we don't talk about Bruno.
Thank you.
All right, David. Name the film everyone loves that you hate.
These are good questions. I hadn't thought of trying to think of what's popular or what do I not like that I walked out of Spaceballs.
Okay.
I've only walked out of two movies in my life.
Home Alone.
Okay. What's the other one?
Not Home Alone. I live actually around the corner from the Home Alone house here in the Chicago suburbs.
Oh, that's incredible.
I walked out of Spaceballs. I did not think it was funny. I love Blazing Saddles. I've loved his other movies. Yeah. Spaceballs, I was like, this is like not even stupid funny, and I left.
Wow. What's the other movie you walked out on?
I walked out on a movie called The Champ with John Voight as a boxer. And honestly, that had more to do with the frame of mind I was in with some friends, and we were we were just in this great move, and here's this movie, and you know, the champ is dying at the end, and the kid, I think it was Ricky Schroeder, who I actually would like as an actor, but he was a little kid then, and he was like, champ, don't die, champ. And my friends and I were just mocking it, you know, and finally people were like shushing us, and we're like, we better leave before the manager comes in. And so, but that wasn't because that was a little different. But Spaceballs is a movie that everybody seems to like. And aren't they redoing that now? Or they're doing a sequel or something?
They are. They're going to do it again. And I'm just tripping right now. I just can't believe it. I'm like, Spaceballs, bro.
Nick is beside himself.
I am.
You know, I had an experience that was similar.
There was another me right here who could physically be beside me, so I could be beside myself. Because I'm just like, how do you not like Spaceballs? Like, what?
I went to go watch Super Troopers in the theater. Shout out to that whole crew. I went in there with a 7-Eleven 64-ounce big gulp of vodka and Sprite. I drank the whole thing. It was my birthday. I was with my friend Wheezy Faye, and and it was hilarious. I mean, we laughed until we cried. Then it came on.
Is great.
And then it came on TBS a year later, and it was awful. And I was like, where's the movie I watched in the theater? Where is the movie? So just speaking of state of mind, David, it really matters.
Exactly.
Now that you've admitted that, I will say that when we saw The Champ, not Spaceballs, but Champ, we may have been slightly impaired when we saw that, which lent itself to us not taking this movie seriously. But Spaceballs, I went with my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, "Are you finding this funny at all?" She's like, "Nope." And she's a big wig at Universal now, so she stayed in the business also. And I'm like, you know, I was like, nope, sorry. But you know what, Nick?
Try it again.
For you, I will watch it again, and I will let you know if I look at it differently.
Look at that,
you
sir.
will. Trust me. It is like the idea, like they did parodies so well, and that's what's so great about it. May the Schwartz be with you. It's just,
you see, he didn't like that.
I trust
You're messing
me.
it up. No, he didn't like that.
No, listen. Watch it again. Let me know how you feel. And
maybe because it was too close to Star Wars. It was too like soon after, like Star Wars, to be spoofing Star Wars.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and maybe because it's like the Scream. It's like the Scream and then the Scary Movie. It's kind of like maybe you're too close to it, right? If you waited a couple of years and then Scary Movie, when you can spoof it, because I would like, now it's old. Maybe that's the same thing. But just watch it again, and I'm hopeful. I'll just put it that way. I'm hopeful that you have a different experience. And if you need to be a little bit impaired in the process, by all means.
By all means.
That might help. That might help.
A little impaired.
I'll call Dan and get his chocolate martini recipe. And
go this way. That's a perfect segue, Nick, because my next question is favorite cheat day meal.
There you go. What is your favorite cheat day meal, David?
Yes.
Can you consider pizza cheating?
I think so. Pizza's bad for you.
Right now, it certainly would be a cheat food for me. But I love pizza, and I love and here in Chicago, there's the deep dish. You know, like as an East Coast guy, it used to be deep dish. No, as Jon Stewart said once, he said, I don't need a pizza I can drown in. and I used to kind of feel that way, but now give me a Lou Malnati's and I am all over it.
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, because in DC, because Chris, he's from DC, and I'm gonna put that DC on you real quick. In DC, I didn't do the deep dish. That's that Chicago stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We did jumbo slice. Oh my God, Armand's. Oh man, like oh. I don't even know if there's Armand's even exists anymore.
Full body convulsion.
You don't understand. Yes, for those listening, full body convulsions, because Armand's pizza is some of the best. It's like you had true Italians in every part of that establishment, ensuring that your experience was as authentic as possible. And I don't even know if our minds even exist anymore. But man, you threw it back on me. I'm going to have to tell my brothers you said that.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, if you guys treat yourselves, if you come to Chicago, treat yourselves to Lou Malnati's.
By the way,
call me. I'll take you there.
Second weekend in a row, Lou Malnati's has come up. It came up last weekend. It was also our previous guest cheat day meal. I order Lou Malnati's pizzas into Nashville. They're that good.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say you can do that, and I do. I will send that as gifts to people, that I know like it.
Yeah. Papa Bear, you were going to say something?
I had a quick question for Nick. Earlier this year, you were in Italy. Did you eat a pizza when you were there?
If he says
I'll
no,
eat McDonald's, man.
If he says no, if he says no, the podcast is over.
No. So no, listen, I didn't. We made pasta while I was in Italy.
God.
Remember, guys. Listen. We've had the conversation about my little finicky stomach and how I've had to work through some challenges.
Yep. It's frothy.
So I didn't eat pizza while I was there, but I will say I did eat pizza while I was in France.
Okay.
And that was interesting, and it was very good. But I will tell you, like, a good quality pizza, especially in DC, jumbo slice was the way to go versus the depth of the pizza. So we weren't going deep dish. We're going those jumbo slices that the only way you can eat that sucker is you got to fold it in half.
That's right. It's like a New York.
Right. And
where did you go? Shakey's?
Oh man, or jumbo slice in Adams Morgan. Right. It just literally says jumbo slice, and you go to Adams Morgan, and the slice is so big, like I'm talking about. You see my hands?
Yeah.
That's how big that is.
For those listening, Nick is spreading his hands out. I'd say it's about 18
That's right. I'm shoulder width, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a shoulder width slice. The slice is so big, you have to fold it in half, and then you eat that sucker. And here's the thing. The beauty of the jumbo slice is you always get the jumbo slice after you've been out. You need that jumbo slice. It's not just a desire.
Soak up all the evil, all the poison.
There you go.
Nick, you know who had, this is a part that'll get cut out, right? I'm sure. In Adams Morgan, there used to be a bar called Million Owls.
Yes.
And it was, and they had, well, it's closed now, unfortunately, but fairly recently, and they had great pizza there, and they put jalapenos on the pizza, it was just an extra thing. Like if you ordered a pepperoni pizza, it still came with a jalapeno on it, and that was the pizza I would go for in Adams Morgan. I love that area.
Man. I'm hungry now.
Back in the day, it was really cool.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Is like, so for people who don't know, Adams Morgan is an area that is, you say, highly eclectic, highly diverse. You could get everything and anything between, all day to all night, right? If you wanted to have your Jamaican music, if you wanted to have a latte, if you wanted to have an empanada, if you wanted to listen to rap, hip hop, folk, Nigerian music, like it's just all of these, it's a melting pot, and it's a strip that is only yay big, right? You can walk Adams Morgan, but it is all the things you would want from a cultural perspective. And it was just, and it's relatively inexpensive. You walk into a place and you're like, some places didn't have a cover, some places did, but it was just this community experience of a variety of cultures that, honestly, I don't know even know where else you can get that.
No, it's well known for its ethnic restaurants and all. And like the Million Owls, I would take dates there on a first date because their response would usually either be, this is so cool, like diverse and just like eclectic and, a little edgy, more edgy then than now. And if they didn't like it, that told me something about them.
Boom.
And it's not for everybody, right? But it told me something that informed me for what I was looking for, right? And so,
well played.
Yeah, you got to have
that.
Got to have that go-to plan.
Perfect. Nice.
I love it. And I never visited there, Nick. So maybe you have to take me. I won't see Millie Now's, but I'm very hungry now. So I'm going to have one of my frozen pizzas here in a second.
Bro. Yeah.
And then,
how late can I order a Lou Malnati's?
I'll go get a Lou here in a second. And then, Nick, hopefully next time I'm up there, we can visit that town, just walk around. We'll clear the set on this. Better tool to heal the world, the church or film?
Ooh.
Well, this is where you make enemies. I
What do you do that to him for?
Right.
Boy, that's walking into a buzzsaw right there, man.
Yeah, he's like,
Go the
that's
safe
difficult.
way.
Well, hey, I'll say this, David, answer it in the way that the best way you feel possible.
Yeah.
I think, and this is one of the reasons that I make films and that I'm in this business, is film has the ability to touch all people. You filmed, and they all have their different perspectives, but you have the opportunity to make a statement, to show a perspective, to tap into something that people may not otherwise be aware of on a non-judgmental, broad platform. Mm-hmm. You're not going to reach, church or temple or synagogue, whatever your denomination. It's a little bit, religion's a little bit preaching to the choir, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be, even if the message is exactly what people need to hear, it's not necessarily going to reach the masses in an influential way. And film is cross-cultural. It's cross pretty much everything. You may not then buy into the message. That's okay. But I think it has the ability to reach, and if people were, when good messages are put out there, at least thought provoking, even if you say, no, I'm not going to buy that. So I guess I hope you see where my answer is there.
I love that.
It's a great answer, Chris. I just have to mention that, one of the things that I just shared with Chris recently is, like, I saw, was it Ray J on Kirk Franklin's Den of Kings show that he has on YouTube. And, Kirk Franklin was asking Ray J, like, how do you deal with some of the pressures? How do you deal with some of this stuff? And do you use church as a vehicle for that? And Ray J said, he's like, I hate church. Mm-hmm. That's like, whoa, you're talking to Kirk Franklin right now. Like, you hate church. He's like, yeah, I would go to church and they would sit me in the back. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand that, but they would always sit me in the back. I didn't like being in the back. He said, and if they didn't sit me in the back, they sat me up front. Like right in the front.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were like, well, what's wrong with being in the front? He's like, I'd be in the front sweating. I just start sweating. Right? Because now I feel like I'm on blast. Like they're putting the sinners up front. Right? So either put him in the back where he's supposed to be kind of suppressed, way in the back so nobody sees him, or they put you in the front where you're on blast and everybody sees you're the sinner. That's why they put you up front. You need Jesus. You need to be saved. And I think that goes to what David is saying. It's like, some people are just uncomfortable in that environment.
Yeah.
So if you can meet them where they are, right? And back to what David is saying, like, this is something that everybody loves. People love film. They love storytelling, right? Story is king. We say that. We have a segment called it. We believe in it. That is part of who we are. So if you can tell good stories, people are always looking for good stories. So if people can find themselves in a story, then that has the power to change, potentially more than a physical place has the power to change.
Love it.
Because that physical place can make them uncomfortable, but they're comfortable where they are.
Yeah.
So I love your answer, David. I think it's perfect.
And I'll say this, and you guys have seen the movie, the Avery family in the movie is a Christian family. The father really relies on his faith, but and that was, we wanted that element in there. But, as Frank said when he wrote it, he said, I want to make a movie that if you removed every, and every bit of faith in there, it still stands on its own. And I think we did that. But, it's so there, even our film has a message for, what faith can do, regardless of what it is. It just happens in this case. It's it's a Christian family, right? But people watch our film and they don't think, oh, I'm being preached to, right? I would say Rocky goes to church, right? He realizes, has this epiphany and realizes what this real situation is. But that doesn't make Rocky a faith-based hit you over the head. It's just that's part of real life. So I think there is, but the beauty of it is that you can take those elements and put them into a film, right? You don't typically go to church and have a movie shown to you. Right.
Right.
It doesn't really work the other way. So
right.
I think you're kind of hitting both with one.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that answer. It's fantastic. And I have a friend named Aaron who I think says something genius, which is that watching is political. And what she means by that is when you decide to show up to a film, you are sort of willingly adopting the director's POV. Right. Like you've decided for this 2 hours, I'm going to hear this person out and their view of the world. And that's really, really powerful. What else has been powerful is this conversation. David, you are the man. This was exactly what I hoped it would be, exactly what we hoped it would be. You just crushed it. Can you tell everybody where they can see this film, where they can support you, support your work, support your friends and colleagues, whatever you want to share here? This is your chance to share it.
Sure. So I'll start with our website is shortgamemovie.com. Not at the beginning, just shortgamemovie.com. And on social media, it's actually, then there is The Short Game. There is a documentary about little kids playing golf, about kids playing golf. It's an excellent documentary. It's called The Short Game. It came out about 15 years ago. That is not us. We are, that's a documentary, not taking anything away from it. We share a title. So we have now completed our theatrical run. However, we are going to, so we're in a little bit of a lull right now, but in making our plans for our streaming release, which we don't have the specific date yet, but we're actually going to have a pretty big event to kick it off with another theatrical screening in LA to then introduce the movie to the wider audience in streaming. So I'll happy to keep you guys informed when people can see it. Let's see, promote. Like I said, keep an eye out for our also we'll be on a major streamer, but I can't say yet. Our documentary, it's actually called Full Cup. And I think it will be a great series for people to watch and give them an interesting perspective on homelessness and the solutions to it. And I will also plug my daughter, besides being an actress, is a filmmaker. She did a short film that premiered at Tribeca last year called Dirty Towel. And it's now available on YouTube. And within 2 weeks, it had over 1 million views.
Wow.
So Dirty Towel. So check that out.
What's your name?
She co-wrote it. What's that?
What's your name?
Emma Parks. So
Emma Parks. Shout out to Emma Parks.
Yeah,
and
Emma
her film made it onto Amuleto, which is a good, we enjoy Amuleto as a platform for sharing short films.
Go watch her film, Dirty Towel.
That's right.
I just, I've been very fortunate in my career to have experienced a lot of different things. I figure if I had stayed in sports from the beginning, I'm sure I would have been very happy, but that's all I would have done. And my being able to jump between all these different events have allowed me to travel the world and meet incredible people. And somebody asked me once, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I get paid to hang out with movie stars and pro athletes and rock stars, and that doesn't suck.
That doesn't suck.
Not at all.
So I'm and thankfully all of it has allowed me to look back kind of fondly on it. Lots of stories.
That's beautiful.
It's quite beautiful, and we'll end on this. What does it mean to make it?
Do it, Chris.
What does it mean to make it? I used to. I think if you had asked me this earlier in my career, I would have said making it is a function of what other people think of my work and of me and my success, and that's not it at all anymore. For me, making it is only about what do I think about my work and what I'm doing, and it is not measured in awards. It's not measured in financial success. It's for me, it's measured in, am I proud of what I've done? Have I put things out in the world that have moved people and made people think, and now that my children are proud of that their dad did that.
Yep.
So, and it's not just in my career in movie, it's in everything I've done, whether it was athletics or career or just being a friend to people. Like I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by great people, and that's important. And to me, that's making it.
Bellissimo. I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, that's why we know that, like, kindred spirits, man. Yep. Right. And I tell everybody, I was like, my parents blessed me and they cursed me. And many people have heard this before. They blessed me and they cursed me when they named me, because they named me Nicholas. Mm-hmm. People don't know, Nicholas is Greek for victory of the people.
Yep.
It is my namesake. It is my job in life. It is my purpose. My name is my purpose. And you realize every single day that you can be successful by just living up to that. If you can just create the victories, and the small victories, the big victories in your life and other people's lives, I mean, what more is there? You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, what more is there? And if you're happy with that, man, like I said, kindred spirit, man. We appreciate you
I
for everything you are and everything you do.
Thank you so much. I feel it too. You guys are great. I will look forward to staying in touch. And I do get to Nashville, and I can't thank you enough for the offering up this significant chunk of time to, I don't know. I don't typically talk a lot about myself. I like listening to other people's stories. So I've gleaned a lot from you guys, and thank you so much, and best of success for ongoing with your show. I will certainly be spreading the word. Papa Bear, you're a man of few words, but I know you're instrumental in all of this. So I appreciate y'all thinking that, having me on was a worthwhile endeavor.
Man, it's our pleasure.
Thank you.
That's what we do it for. And you heard it right from the horse's mouth there. Go support the film, The Short Game. Go look out for his documentary coming up. Distributor to be announced. I think it's called The Full Cup. Is that correct?
Full Cup.
A Full Cup. So go check out that when you'll hear about it when it rolls out. But right now, The Short Game, go watch that, go search for that, and support indie creators like David. That's what we have to do. Also, we're indie creators. We have a little show here. If you haven't noticed, we're on YouTube. So if you are here, go ahead, subscribe, like, share. Thanks for hanging in with us on this episode. We really appreciate it. You're the reason we do all this stuff. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple or Spotify or Amazon or wherever, go ahead and rate us 5 stars. If you have 30 seconds, we'd take that review too. It really, really means a lot. We see you out there on Spotify. Spotify audience is growing really, really big. Shout out to Spotify for providing a platform that makes it easy to rate and review and help creators like us. Also, if you're just listening, come to youtube.com, search for The Make It Podcast. The in that is important for taxonomy reasons, for whatever reason, but you put the in there and we will show up. We'll be the very first thing you see. Also, if you want to reach out to us, tell us what we're doing well, tell us what we're doing bad, tell us what you'd like to see, what guests we should go get. _ Make It Podcast on Instagram, X, and TikTok. All right. We respond to 100% of all DMs, messages, comments, you name it. So find us on Instagram, X, TikTok at _ Make It Podcast. You can also find us on Facebook at The Make It Podcast. So with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
Yeah, man, will do. And again, David, we appreciate you. As you said, PB is a man of few words, but those few words educate us every time. Chris is a man of many words, and he educates, and he entertains, and he inspires every time. So this is a blessing and a pleasure for me to be a part of this band of brothers that we have here. And of course, Editor Kate, who's knocking stuff out for us every single week. I say she's part of the band. So I don't want to say brothers and sisters here who are making this possible. But I will have to say to our filmmaking friends, family, fans, and followers out there, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Shout out to intern David as well. And shout out to you, Nick, Papa Bear, David. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, man.
See you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.